fast as I could with a very large, heavy duffel bag in the Atlanta International Airport to catch my flight. As I neared the departure gate, I saw three airline staff near the walkway door to the plane. One had just closed it and appeared to be locking it. Without slowing down with my bag, I said, "Open up that door, FBI." And, but that was shocking because it did. Looking out that window, it looked like we were going to blow up because it was just fire and red and the loudest explosion I've ever heard.
Hi everyone, my name is Chelsea,
I'm Angelica.
and together we're two random girls. We really today's a different episode. episode. We hope you guys like it.
Yes, we had our very special guest, Mr. Wells Jones. We get into very different topics with him. Some a little serious, but I think you guys will really benefit from hearing from it, especially because all our viewers are mostly around our age, freshly graduated. This is for the people who are having trouble finding jobs in competitive fields like producing, directing, writing. We have a writer as a guest. We get into different topics like what I just mentioned. We talk about his adventures, and this man has
Lived a life, y'all.
He was a Navy. Well, he'll tell you. He went to Antarctica, the Middle East. Crazy, crazy stories. So please make sure to tune in. You guys won't want to miss it. And all his information is down in the description. So please check him out.
All right, y'all.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Today we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Wells Jones, writer, producer, director, and adventurer. Wells Jones is the co-author of A Line in the Sand, a novel that follows two friends to an adventure in the Middle East.
Yes, we're super excited to have him on. Thank you again for joining us. Please feel free to introduce yourself, maybe plug any of your social medias, your projects, anything like that.
Well, first of all, thanks a lot, Chelsea and Angelica. This is a pleasure being with you. Um, Introduce myself. Well, I've been around the block a lot, and we're going to talk about things that I've done, and it's based on a long history and hanging in there. And so I wrote a book. That's what got this initiated, is writing a book, A Line in the Sand by Miles Spencer and myself, Wells Jones. It's based on a trek in the Middle East. Talk about it a little bit later, but let's just get into it.
Yeah, okay. So the first question that we had, since personally we both, me and Chelsea, just recently graduated over 2 years ago. I majored in communication studies, and Chelsea's a writer. So for us, it was very important, or even just for our viewers, I think it would be very interesting for them to learn how you went into three very competitive fields, which were like writing, producing, and directing. So I was interested in knowing which ones were like one of your biggest challenges you faced while breaking into the industry, and how were you able to overcome them?
Well, to get it in context, they are separate disciplines,
Hmm.
and so it was a process, and it goes back to being an actor before my wife and I started producing events. And we were just tapped on the shoulder to do the first one was a very big jazz show at Lincoln Center. And so the writing was about bringing the show together, giving it a middle, beginning, and end. It's a live show, it was a jazz show. And the directing is directing on stage the musicians and for the performance, and then the producing is getting people in the seats, getting people there. And that had grown into a business where we did well over 100 different events in different venues, worked a lot in Washington, D.C. And so it was the need to write. And the background was all the acting school and acting, dealing with scripts, being introduced to Aristotle's poetics, storytelling, and understanding how important that is, even for a live show, anywhere. in communities, at the grandstand in the parks. There's a need for an eye on it, a director's eye, to bring out a beginning, middle, and end, sort of a story to the presentation. And so we were working together. We're very good at that. And the biggest obstacle in all of it is not obstacle, it was the challenge. And that is to understand all the many disciplines around. Now, we're talking about events that are produced, written, staged, directed. And so it's dealing not only with our discipline of being in charge and managing it, but understanding light designers, sound designers, choreographers, musicians, band leaders, stage management on a very large scale. We had a sense of that with the shows that we were in. I was in different shows than my wife at the time, but being a part of productions as an actor and seeing what it takes, watching all this machine that puts together that we see all across the country, from community theater to regional theater to off Broadway in New York, these productions. And so we were really tapped into that. The challenge was to bring all the pieces together, have a concept for the event or the evening, pass it along to all these, and we ended up working with just spectacular people. Artists. Everyone seems to be an artist. If they're with the writing, Chelsea, it was like it was our ideas, but then it became a writer's room. You've heard of writer's rooms like for television and stuff like that. It's where you get three, four, five different writers, and they're all, bringing their ideas together to do a show. Or one writer may be given a show to write, a half hour an episode show or an hour episode show, and then others pick it apart and they work at it. And so we had in all the departments expert people to help us with all of it. And so that was the challenge. And adapting, which is in life, it's adapting. An issue comes in front of you. Go ahead. Excuse me.
No worries. I just had a question about if you had ever like challenges in getting a job or I guess making a name for yourself in the industry, because that's something that personally with the communication studies I've challenged in having like getting a job in producing or directing. Like I do it for our podcast, but when it comes to a career, it is something difficult and something that I hear a lot of people my age like I complain about but bring up when they're applying for jobs. They're like it's such a competitive field. So I wanted to know if that's something like you ever had a struggle with.
The same for writing too.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I will tell you, I have a son that's an LA screenwriter, and he has won the grand jury prize at Sundance at 27. And that goes back to doing Halloween haunted houses when he was a kid. It's just using his imagination and building. For me, acting, I couldn't feed a family on the income that I was getting with acting. I was acting with incredible people in New York City, off Broadway. And we all agreed in this repertory company to get $201 a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's like, what does that pay for? Subway? And so, but it was also set up that we could break away and do a television commercial or get, they were doing soap operas back then, daytime television. What I say is just pick a direction and go, and do not comment on it. There are things out of your control. The thing that's in your control is your writing. Right. Your control in communications. Do what you can do and present it to as many people as possible. It just happened. That's the way it was with me. My first acting show had to do that I had on this very skimpy resume. I mean, I was like, it was couple of little shows, and then it said skills. You know how you write skills and you say, well, you can type, you can do this, certain processes and technical things. But I had Antarctic pararescue. That caught the director's eye. He stopped me in the middle of an audition. There was a big audition to be a part of this repertory company. And he said, stop. Come here. Tell me about Antarctica. So it was just that got me in that led to so many other things. And so expand your reach, go to museums. That's what I always said about artists and writers. Read, expand, be on top of what's going on, but find your groove and go until you're led to go another way. That's the only thing you have control over. And to be upset that at 25 years old you don't have a name for yourself, this doesn't always work that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not reality, right?
Yeah, I
But
think for many people in their 20s now, they feel like a lot of pressure trying or thinking like, oh, we haven't made it anywhere. We're already in our mid 20s. We don't have a career. But I think everything also happens with time, and we have to learn how to be patient. And little by little, if you keep trying and practicing and getting better at your craft with whatever it is that you do, I think like your story and many others in the world, little by little, you'll get out of the slump, or it's not even a slump that we're in. It's just
no,
growing up. It's life.
it's process. It's part
Hmm.
of the process. It is, and is I don't know if it's just growing up, but it is definitely growing. You're expanding your ideas and what you manifest just as a person. I mean, I can tell from both of you your sense of person, place, a level of confidence, a joy about you, and energy. What's missing is where's the enthusiasm, guys?
Hmm.
Why can't someone, be enthusiastic and not have it all?
Yeah.
And go forward and adapt and be ready to hear it. Someone I talked about tapping, being tapped on the shoulder, being asked to do something. Greatest thing you can do is be prepared. And that goes back to even Churchill talked about. You want to hear a quote from Churchill real quick? Each there comes a time in their lifetime, a special moment when they are figuratively tapped on the shoulder and offered a chance to do a very special thing, unique to them and fitted to their talent, your talent and your talent. Okay, think of that. What a tragedy if that moment finds them unprepared or unqualified for that which could have been their finest hour. So it's being love what you do and do it and find avenues. And we've been through COVID, we've been through writers' strikes, we've been through actors' strikes, and people just reform
Yeah,
themselves.
absolutely. And the challenges won't ever stop coming, just like it happened, COVID, the writing strike. We never expected them, but it's something, there's always going to be an unexpected challenge to come in the near future. So
Sure.
you just have to be, like you said, prepared and
Ready to
have a,
adapt.
yeah, adapt and have a love for what you do.
Yeah.
The key word is adapt,
Yeah.
right? And play it as your own hand, your card game. It's like you call it fate, and you go, well, this is really this. I feel like everything's just. And you go, no, turn it around, get back to the focus, and adapt.
Looking back, did you ever imagine you'd end up traveling to the Middle East and Antarctica or working in such a creative field?
Well, it's one adventure led to the other adventure. Completing one led to another. My mother told me when I was in high school, a long time ago, it was in Vermont, and my graduating class was 31 people, 5 towns, rural. You hear about it in the South, but it's also like in Vermont and New England. And I was a sophomore in high school, and I was like, I got to get out of here. She said, "What's wrong with you?" My mother's talking to me. I said, I started running away. And she said, if you can't deal with where you are right now, you have no business going forward. I was like, so handle it and be ready to go forward. And I said, okay. And my thought was, I want to get out of here and just read a book. I said, I don't want to read a book. I want to be the book. I want to go those places. I don't want to. She said, okay, okay. And so I had no business being in school at that time. At the end of graduation, I joined the Navy. The Vietnam War just over. Cambodia kicked in later. You may not understand dynamics of what I'm saying, but I went in, and it turned out to be the greatest thing I could have done because I ended up being on a parachuting rescue team with an outfit that was flying planes for the National Science Foundation, flying scientists around Antarctica. And for someone at 19, 20, 21 years old, for me, that was just great. And it just went on. I couldn't get into jet school. I wanted to do that. My commanding officer said on my way out the door from the Navy, I'll give you anything you want. And I performed very well. There were nice things that happened. And I said, well, I want to go to college and I want to go to jet school. I mean, we know Top Gun and all that stuff. That wasn't in my head, but it was flying jets, landing on an aircraft carrier, and it was just the discipline and the ability to do that. And he said, son, that's never going to happen. He said, your eyes are bad. Gotta have 20/20, and you don't. And you're 6'3". He said, I'll give you anything you'd like. I said, thank you, sir. No, sir. So I got out, went to acting school. And it's really from the acting school that I got an understanding of all this creative juices in me. I've done some acting in high school. And from that, it led to all the things that I've done. It was the acting school. It's like writing school or communications. It was the foundation. And I went to older than you two are. I was 27 when I went through, the first bit of acting school. And I was 30 in no time. But by the time I was 30 and the skills I had and the organizational skills and discipline I had with self from being in the pararescue team in Antarctica, I used it. And it just led without thinking about it. So I didn't think about, oh, what do I want to do as a career? I did think about it. I was going to be an attorney. I joined the Navy because I was going to be a judge advocate. And then I found out about all this other exciting stuff and it switched. And in the end, they said, sorry, no. Okay, now what am I going to do? And my mother said, you want to do all these different things? You've been very good in the acting that I've seen you. And your grandmother said, you acted very well and like her brother years ago and reminded her of, him. Why don't you go into acting? And so I did. And it was like someone saying, go into communications. It's a happening thing. It's, you'd be great. You have the personality for it. You're great with people, blah, 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 blah. Same thing happened to me. And from that, it just, like I told you about the first big job, getting with this repertory company off Broadway and getting an agent and then doing Coca-Cola commercial, doing Kodak camera. And you probably don't know about Kodak camera. Maybe you do. Gatorade, beer commercials. And it just because I was happy and enthusiastic and I wasn't a depressed kid.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think that's so relatable what you were saying about like how when you were young you really just wanted to get out and like explore. I think that's a feeling that a lot of people have. Like I know I've had that feeling before too, and that's why
Mhm.
I've always wanted to like travel and go see the world because I was like I need to get out of here. Like this is not enough for me.
Yeah, yeah, so true, so true. I mean, I've seen it with a lot of people, but it sure was with me. And so it wasn't, the challenges were all accepted, whether it was the weather, whether it was not knowing something and figure it out by studying or being taught and being open, adaptable, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and realizing that we have a capacity, and that came from just physical stuff, being able to run or climb a mountain and do things, that we have a capacity way beyond what we think we have. And that's what needs to be passed along to your listeners, is that their capacity, they're living at this level, but they are capable of going,
Yeah, definitely. I think
you
those are
know?
such beautiful words just because I think a lot of people, a lot of young people, and we always try to, I forgot the word, but when you
Like
make yourself feel worse, then
they're complacent.
I guess, yeah, like you, we, we make our, we put too much pressure on ourselves, I guess what I'm trying
Mhm.
to say. And we try to always like tell ourselves like we're less than what we have already accomplished, and we don't
Oh,
look at our accomplishments, but we'd rather like, oh, like look at that person, they're
Yeah.
already at that
oh,
level, you know.
negative,
Mhm.
negative, don't do that.
Mhm.
You have no control over that. You let them be and wish them well. What blesses one blesses all.
Yeah.
If you or you did something fabulous, don't you think the other person would go and give you energy to do the
Mhm.
same or to go forward? But this comparison, I've done a lot of hiking, a lot of mountains. I do solo nighttime for sunrise summits on the mountains around here. And, one's 7 miles to get in and get up for the sunrise and then 7 miles out. And I found that I could do it at night. One, there was a number of things. I had to come to terms with myself. But the capacity that we have is is as far as your imagination can go. And I don't
Mhm.
mean like watching some show and going, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm talking about real stuff. There's plenty of real people. Do you know that there's a 21-year-old woman? She's Norwegian that went unassisted to the South Pole and she got there like 5 days ago.
Oh my
21
god,
years old.
I need that.
Yeah, yeah. And you think of how did, and she's 5 feet tall. She's 105 pounds, and she pulled the sled with her 700 and some odd miles through everything. Wind, storms, sun, so bright you can't even believe it and stays light 24 hours a day during this time of year.
Mhm.
21 years old. You don't have to compare, but you can know that it's possible. Look at it. If she can do it, I can do it.
Mhm.
For me, David Goggins, you ever hear of a man named David Goggins?
Yes.
Well, I go, the guy's wild. I mean, I just think he's amazing. And there are others, and you just go, you realize that our capacity to for accomplishments are just as far as we want to think them. And you really can go. But if one spends any time beating yourself up, it's not going to work. It stops the action. Or if you're going, looking over there and going, hmm, no judgment,
Yeah.
let people be and
Yeah, I
do what you
think
need to do. Go ahead.
I think like that famous quote that like comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
I think that's like one of the things that I always try to think about, because even though it's something we shouldn't do, it's
Mm.
something also human sometimes. Like if I'm sitting down and I don't want to do it, but I'm like, oh my gosh, like how? Like I wish. Or it's not even just jealous. It's not jealousy. It's just me comparing myself because I'm like we're the same age. But I think um if you see everything like you said with positivity and happiness, like good for them, that means I could do something like that, or I could be just like her if we went to the same high school, we're the same age. That instead of me comparing myself, I should, or any of the viewers, we should just always be like, if they could do it, I could do it too.
Yeah, it's a waste of time too. Like I think that's what I was getting from what you were saying, Wells. Like you do waste
Mhm.
your time like comparing yourself to other people when you can be putting in the work to better yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
why are you the time that you're taking to be like, why can't I be like them? Oh, how did they do this? You could have been putting in the work and finding out what you want to do and how to
yeah,
get there.
Yeah.
yeah. Use it as a stepping stone, not on them, stepping over them, but
Yeah.
as it's helpful. I find it helpful to know about Alex Honnold solo climbing that unbelievable, I mean, it's a feat.
Mm-hmm.
Or a man, Ross Edgley, swimming, and I'm a swimmer, swimming around the United Kingdom for 5.5 months, 6 hours on, 6 hours off, 6 hours on, 6 hours off for 5.5 months, swimming in open water. Now he had a ship there and he had a team, but he was still the one in the water doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And you should see how the smile on that man's face, how he is. And you should see the smile on, oh, what's her name? I wrote it down and I because I wanted to bring it in. The young lady that did the Antarctic. You could look her up. I'm sorry, I don't have it right here.
It's okay. We could, if you could, send it to us, and we'll insert her name if you don't remember.
Yeah, because you see, for women, there are women, young women, and women, more older women doing
Mm-hmm.
wonderful things, and they deserve the attention that guys get. It's just some of the things guys are doing are just beyond belief. But you look at that 5 foot tall Norwegian girl and the smile on her face, and believe me, she went through pain to get
Yeah,
there.
I
She,
could only imagine.
Yeah, I
Oh
can
my
yeah,
God.
imagine.
yeah.
Um,
Anyway.
What's the most awe-inspiring sight you've witnessed in Antarctica that you think most people would never expect?
Now, the awesome thing that I've witnessed, that I've seen in Antarctica,
Yes,
is
the most
that the
awe-inspiring.
question? Okay, thank you. It was just a little garbled coming through my phone. Inspiring. I'll tell you what, it's just the expanse. There is zero pollution in Antarctica. And so if you're on where we were at McMurdo Station, if you go out to where the plains land, which is further out away from the hillside that's built on volcanic ash, and that's where the National Sounds Foundation is. A little further away is where the New Zealand base is, Scott Base. And so all the action is there. Well, you go out a little bit further and you can get a glimpse of Mount Erebus. Now, it is an active volcano. And so at sometimes with the way the wind streams are, you could see a smokestack thin coming from the top of Mount Erebus, and it would literally at a 90-degree angle as if it hit a turn and just go all the way around the sky. That airstream, understand, it's going for close to 100 miles that you see it. There's no pollution there. This is smoke from Mount Erebus, and that was very inspiring. On top of many things,
mhm.
just that it's so bright and sometimes so intensely cold.
Is it quiet?
I'll tell you how quiet it is. There's a place called the Dry Valleys, and it happens to be a geographical place where the snow does not, first of all, the snow doesn't really fall. It doesn't snow like we see snow falling.
Mhm.
It blows in. Well, in the dry valleys, there's no snow. We camped out in the dry valleys in an area, and it was the first time I realized how quiet it actually was. There's no birds, there's no animals, there was no wind. My tent and people, there was absolutely quiet. I felt I could hear my heartbeat. That's how quiet.
Oh my God.
You know how you can feel your heartbeat sometimes, or you hear it in your head as you're going to sleep?
Mhm.
It's like I mean, I could hear it. It was that quiet, still, and so bright, blue sky. And in this area, in the dry valleys, it's rocks and crags and stuff like that. But yeah, quiet. Saudi Arabia was the same way, or Wadi Rum, same way. I was reminded of Antarctica many years later doing that Middle East trek and being in Wadi Rum. And it was the same thing, except it was interrupted with this eagle or I don't know what it was, screeching. But other than that, it was just no sound. There's no buzz, there's no electricity, there's nothing except in pure sand. In Antarctica, it's just snow and just the purity of the air.
Oh, that sounds so. It sounds for me. It sounds beautiful, but also a little scary. Like I think I would be a little scared.
I think it sounds like perfect. I feel like the sky is probably so beautiful there at night. Like, was there a lot of stars?
Oh
Well,
yeah.
you see, what happens is that it's the southern part, southernmost, it's the southern hemisphere, and it's the southernmost part of it. And so the way the Earth revolves around the sun, that combination, we go in October when the sun is rising along the horizon. And so the sun is rising 24 hours a day
Um,
and it stays light 24 hours a day. And so at 12 o'clock at night, it's like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. That was took something to get used to because whenever in any of the places that we stayed, we always had the ability to black out the windows so that we could have a sense of night. But there is no sense of night camping out in tents on the polar plateau near the South Pole. I mean, at the South Pole, or while we were there.
Um, that goes into our next question. Like, Antarctica is one of the harshest environments on Earth. What were some of the biggest physical and mental challenges you faced there? And have you ever faced a dangerous or life-threatening situation in Antarctica?
Well, a life threatening is that I got stuck on a at in the dry valleys. I was following a New Zealand mountaineer that was training us. My climbing partner Paul and I were following Stu, three guys. We're all basically within 5 years of each other, but Stu is a major expert, professional mountaineer, and he said, and he's Kiwi, so he said, "Hey, come on, follow me." And he took us just below the ridge of it's called the Dias. Doesn't matter, but it was dangerous. And we were coming around a rock face. It was just like a nose. And they were in front. And I didn't see where Paul placed his hands because he's following Stu. And I stopped and I realized I was stuck. Stuck meaning I tried to reach for some another hold to keep moving kind of horizontally around this nose, and I couldn't. Then I started shaking. And in the climbing world, it's sewing machine legs. My legs started shaking so much, and then my body, and then my hands, and it becomes very painful. And they were gone. They didn't. They were out of there. I looked between my legs. It lasted long enough that I thought, if I let go, I won't feel bad. I won't. The pain will be over. And if I don't hold on, I'm going to shake myself off this place and just fall backwards. You can't get too close to the rock. You have to be separate. And then all of a sudden I heard, tag! And it was Stu. Move your left hand 6 inches at 11 o'clock. And I did. And there was something I could hold on to. Move your right foot. And he was leaning over and looking. And in two moves, I was out of there. He saved my life.
Wow.
Wow, that's so scary. How how did you feel like after that situation? Like, did you feel like were you traumatized? Like,
Well, the traumatized, there was no, I wasn't. What I was is and Stu just had an issue with Paul and I and the pararescue team because we had the helicopters, we were skydiving, we had all this stuff, and he was a mountaineer. And there was just things that I don't know, I'm making this up in the sense that I don't really know. I just know that he wasn't really pleasant. And I thought, this guy doesn't like us. It's like, what are we doing with this guy? And he saved my life. And I just said, you throw that away. This man just saved your life. And he said, good to go. I said, thank you, Stu. Let's go. Carry on. And that was it. Not another word ever about it with him.
Wow.
For
That sounds
me,
so crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I think part of it was that my ego got in the way. I thought, oh, I'm just doing this. And then all of a sudden, and I was thinking, why is Stu, here I am going around these dangerous stuff and thinking about Stu, why is he being such a, unpleasant, I could say words, but unpleasant guy,
Mhm.
you know? And I'm going, it's okay, just following. And all of a sudden, it was like frozen. And so I say it was my ego that put me there. And
Yeah.
Stu, the very one that I was holding this grudge or thinking he was thinking, it was like I had no business holding that on him. Anyway, so there we go.
Um, so with that being said, I was also interested with the like mountains and stuff. What kind of preparation did you do before heading into Antarctica? Like, did you do any practice on mountain climbing, things like that?
Yes, absolutely. We were a parachuting rescue team. The biggest thing we did in the United States was um, did a lot of skydiving. We were doing high altitude, not halo jumps, not 20,000 feet, but we were going up to 15,000 feet and jumping, spotting where we were going to land. And we were trained to be precision jumpers because in Antarctica, what would happen is that we would cargo drop a container that had a parachute on it and it had all of our gear in it, food, all the medical supplies we would need for the people that would be in trouble below. And so we used that as a target. That was we were doing that training and learning all different ways to pull people out of crevasses, even in the United States, pulling up out of holes and maneuvering around the mountain and technically with ropes and toboggans and things that we would have to deal with in Antarctica. And that included we did a lot of. I mean, I was always a runner, always a swimmer, and always working at being in shape. That wasn't something done as a group. Paul and I, my climbing partner, we were just into that. And when we were into Antarctica, instead of gambling and playing cards and spending our money and drinking bottles of whiskey and stuff like that, we would go out on long runs um, around McMurdo, away from McMurdo. There are places to go, and we were just so totally into it, the area and being ready to rescue.
Did you rescue a lot of people?
No, no, not really. There were some people that had issues falling into crevasses, and we assist getting them out. Um, there were two plane crashes during my time, my three different seasons. In the plane crashes, there were no fatalities. There were very emotional wrecks from the plane crashes, and they were it was like one was an international group of scientists. So we had French and Danes and British, a number of different countries represented that were exploring a certain area of Antarctica. So the aircraft landed not on a runway, in the open field of snow, and then tried to take off and crashed on takeoff. Another plane came to help. We were on a third rescue plane. We thought we were going to jump in, that we would have to. We didn't, but we ended up with three air crews. Two planes were left behind, and the plane I was on, everybody was strapped in, and we just barely made it out of there because it was such a heavy load and it was so difficult to plow through the snow with all the weight, way overweight that we had. but it was like there is a God. It was like we were crashing through the snow, and it's just like you could see out the side window where we were, and just for miles, it just barely lifted us up, and we finally got airborne and got out of there. But no one was hurt, and a lot of small things, but for the most part, we were there to do the jumping in or being flown by helicopter to assist people in need.
Did you like in those moments, did you ever feel fear or was it more adrenaline pumps?
I think, well, there's on the planes, the reason the planes crashed is that there's a mechanism. They call it jet assist takeoff, and it's just like these big canisters, like almost like torpedoes, small, short, stocky torpedoes. But they get fired off and they help lift the plane into the air. The two planes that crashed, these canisters broke off their brackets, went through the wing, went through the nose of the aircraft, and so it incapacitated the plane. But when these go off, and if you're on a plane and you don't know that this explosion is going to happen, you think you're on fire. You think the plane is exploding. And that happened with people. So they were very traumatized. And by the time 33 people were on the back, the planes in front of the tail end of a plane's like this. And it's the tail end, the wings are over here, and the door opens like this. Well, in this space from up here to here, the ramp were 33 people. Most of them had been through two plane crashes. And we're sitting right behind the window where the JATO is. And so on this third plane, when that JATO was fired, that shocked me. I mean, I was fine. People were breathing oxygen canisters and stuff. We're passing that around, but that was shocking because it did. Looking out that window, it looked like we were going to blow up because it was just fire and red and the loudest explosion I've ever heard.
Oh my god. I can't even imagine being in a situation like that. Like this isn't it one of our questions that we had prepared, but like I know your mom or your parents were telling you sorry about like going out there and like really experiencing stuff, or they were supportive when you
Mhm.
came back and told your parents this or your family members like the stories. Were they ever like in shock or being like, oh my god, like my son, like were they in fear while you were out there?
Well, my father, Pat, I'm from a large family. There are six kids in my family, two sets of twins. I have a brother born on my first birthday. This should be a truth or a lie, but this is true. A brother born on my first birthday, and we're all within 6 years of age. I started school in South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, and then we all moved to Vermont. And a year and a half later, my father passed on.
Oh, I'm so
So
sorry
sorry.
about that.
Yes, it's just one of those things. And we were kind of left in this foreign land, Vermont. My mother was a very strong individual, and you probably know either your own mother or other mothers that are just capable of holding the family together.
Hmm.
And that was my mom, and it was fantastic. And so she just would beam. That's all. And she was very pleased. And she had a lot of kids, but she was very pleased that I was doing that, and she knew that she was just pleased. That's what I got from her,
Yeah.
you know. I did call her from Antarctica, and one of the hard things you talked about challenges with the communications back then. We didn't have phones, you
Hmm.
know, and it was ham radio. And there was a guy, Joe, had a little hut and a great big huge tower antenna outside that was all tied down so it wouldn't blow over. And he would, signal into some place in the United States through the ham radio and then relay to like my home in Vermont. And I would might call my mother, and you'd have to say, "Hi, mom," over. And she's going, "Oh, where are you? What? Oh, da, 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 da." And then, "Mom, you have to say over." Oh, okay. And so, but there was, and the communications and guys talking with their, well, I wasn't married, guys talking with their wives, guys finding out that they've just had a baby girl, or baby boy, that the wife has just had a baby, and all kinds of things. And so it was done in a manner that was just the old way. Same with the clothing. We didn't have Gore-Tex. We didn't have this lightweight, beautiful gown and vests and stuff like that. It was wool and canvas and ripstop nylon and layers, lots of layers.
Yeah. Um, Talking about like the preparation,
Mhm.
what was some processes or how do you prepare yourself for when you're adventuring in different cultures? Like, I know we talked about Antarctica, but now like for more of the Middle East,
Yeah.
how was the process of learning about new cultures or languages before visiting, or like what's your go-to method if you have one?
The go-to method is research. It's reading, and the reason for going, just to get into it a little bit, the reason for going to the Middle East is that Miles and I wanted to do a play, and we met up, and he thought that I could play Lawrence of Arabia, T.E. Lawrence. And I said, no, no, the real T.E. Lawrence was 5 feet 5.5. He wasn't 6'3". And he said, well, you could do, because I had actors training. And I said, yeah, I actually considered doing a one-man show. Anyway, we met a Broadway producer. She loved the idea, and we're still working with her. This is 19 years later. Once in a while, you hear about movies that saying, wow, that just came out. And then you read into it and they go, oh, they've been trying to make this movie for 10 years, 15 years. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the way it is with this play. But we have after many writers, not many, but four, a woman writer has a terrific piece pulled together, and we're workshopping it now with actors. And it's a Broadway play. It's that level. So we found our Broadway producer, our partner, and then we looked at each other and said, now we have to go. So we did a lot of research. We researched T.E. Lawrence, who was a Westerner, and he was part of the Arab Revolt. There's a movie about him, Lawrence of Arabia. And we found that if this guy so loved the place and the people, maybe there's a different narrative, a different story, what's going on in the Middle East in 2005, when the headlines was war. It
Mm-hmm.
was shock and awe. It was retaliation for what had happened at 9/11, but it had been going on for four, and then by the time it went, 5 years. So we trained for 8 months. We had a lot to do with research. So the go-to method has always been research, find out about the people. And it wasn't just Lawrence, it's all, he wrote things about the people. And then, of course, we could read about the people. And it was our desire to go and see for ourselves if we could find something beyond the headlines. And we did. We found a lot of commonalities with all the cultures with us, including religion. And this is really wild because I didn't know that all the prophets that we know in the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
Moses and so many of them are in the Quran, are in the Arabic, and in the Hebrew, and they share it. And that John the Baptist's head is interred in Damascus, Syria, in a mosque. I'm going, this guy was a Christian. What is he doing in a Muslim? Oh, no, 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 no. La. He's our prophet too. And then you find, oh, well, he's actually, they say his head is, or it's terrible to say that if you don't know the story. But anyway, that other places claim that they have the same thing. But the Pope has been to Damascus and recognized this crypt. And it's very elaborate and it's very people take it very seriously, and people are just with their heads bowed, just tears and blah, you know. So it's research, and then it's finding out. And the finding out, you know, you can say, oh, well, you eat with your right hand in Saudi Arabia, but it's finding out how to do that, and
Mm-hmm.
finding out how you sit, finding out what is acceptable and not acceptable. And for us, it's just knowing is all we wanted to know. We weren't trying to create any waves, but it's not that we do, but in Saudi Arabia, men don't cross their legs. You know, that was something that, you know, Miles is sitting there. We were in the audience of a Royal Highness Prince, and he was talking to his sheikhs that had come in from the desert, and our interpreter and guide leaned over to me because Miles was sitting on my left. He said, "Tell Miles, uncross his legs." What? Miles, uncross his legs. Okay, okay. Miles, he's going, what? Uncross your legs. What? Uncross your legs. And then we look across at these sheikhs, and they're sitting with their knees apart, and they have big sandals on, and they have these, they look biblical. Great big wraps, big leather girths. Some had staffs, and they were the camel owners, the eyes and ears of the desert. And they were there to talk to the prince and give them a report of what's going on. And if there are any complaints, the prince solves it in what is called a majlis. So we learned, I spit. And my interpreter said, oh, la, la, that, no, not spit on ground. I don't usually spit, Ali. Why? Sacred. You're in Saudi Arabia, don't spit. We found out no cussing. If you have an outburst of, or when you're talking with people, you will be considered a very bad man. Everybody stays calm. And you wouldn't think that. You think terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
The prince that had us at his majlis, it was someone else that worked it out for us to sit and listen. Of course, we didn't understand things because it was in Arabic, but we saw the temperature. We felt what was going on. Afterwards, we're outside. The prince is coming with his entourage, guards and stuff, and he stops and sees us. And he says, welcome. I'd like to invite you to dinner. You will see that we're not all terrorists. And we went, whoa. And we had dinner with the prince and all those people. And he explained, because of our interpreter, he said, he introduced us to all these sheikhs, and they said they are here to see with their own eyes. The thing is, in 2006, the people that we met couldn't believe that any Americans were in Saudi Arabia because of 9/11. And they all said, we're so sorry. We are not all like those terrorists. We are not. But they were being treated around the world
As if
like
they
they
were.
were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. You know, my electrician in Colorado, he came up. He said, hey, I hear you're going over there. I said, what do you mean? You're going to Saudi Arabia, right? I said, yeah. And he's like, go get him. Sure. But that was someone in Golden, Colorado. It's like, where's that?
Mm-hmm.
And so we did find people, even the tension, the 39 checkpoints, they were doing what they felt they had to do. And especially the border crossing into Israel was very tense because that is the situation. It's not personal, it is tense. Why? Because a bus can blow up or someone can, you know, because of terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
My interpreter said at one point, when later we were producing an event there, I went into town because no one was around. I said, I'll take the car. I'm going in and pick up just this massive amount of chicken and rice for a whole bunch of people. And I came back, and Ali said, no, never go alone into town. I said, Ali, no, no, not everybody is nice. They're very bad people. They grab you, you disappear.
Mm.
And that's what we heard from our trainer. There was an SAS major that trained us on conflict management and risk management and what to look for. And his specialty was kidnap and ransom and border and checkpoints with a lot of experience. And he said in some areas, if you're kidnapped, you're gone. It's a political statement. If it was in Colombia and it's about drugs, they ask for ransom money. People pay the ransom money, you're released. Not in where the areas you're going, some of the areas. So we were very alert. And if there was a challenge on the road, it was staying focused and covering each other's back miles.
Yeah, and I think a lot of countries have like a stigma like that. Like I know, especially in Saudi Arabia after 9/11, the stigma was probably much higher. But like you mentioned, Colombia, I'm Colombian. Every time when I was
Are you?
in, yeah,
Yeah,
every time when I was younger, and I would, because I visit my country once a year usually, my fellow classmates would be like, "Oh my God, Colombia's so dangerous! Like you're gonna
right,
die." And
right.
then I'm like, it's. I feel like every country has the stigma of it's so, or not every country, but some of the countries like Chelsea's Haitian. It's so dangerous,
Yes.
but
Oh,
I feel like every place is like in the United States. Like if we were in, I don't know, what's like the one of the most dangerous cities here?
Um,
Like,
Someplace in Florida, like Baton Rouge or
or like
something.
let's say Camden, I think, right?
Oh yeah.
Camden is a dangerous city. And then if you
yes.
go there unprepared, showing all your money, obviously something could happen to you.
Sure,
And I think
sure.
like in Colombia, it's the same thing. People have a stigma about the drugs, Pablo Escobar, but
Yeah.
we always say if you're gonna go to Colombia, it's nothing got like thankfully nothing has ever happened to me when I've traveled there. But I
Mhm.
also would never be walking around with jewelry all over the place
Right.
with a Rolex on my on my wrist. I think it's just the people create a stigma around everything, but if you go and actually meet the people, like they always say the only danger in Colombia is that you're gonna fall in love with the place or you want to live there. And maybe I'm
That's
biased
it.
because I'm Colombian, but I think like every country has its own beauty, and we can't.
Oh,
If
yes.
we live by what the stigma of everyone says, we would never leave where we're from. You know.
It's so true.
Mhm.
So true, Angelica. That's exactly what we found. And one of the ways we found it was eating, having food with people, sitting down, and it was just terrific. And in our book, we used that because it was a part of our experience. The culture is eating and a sense of camaraderie. And believe me, people want love, they want safety, the family, and the governments are the ones that are lining things up a certain way, or
Mhm.
terrorists. They are not all terrorists. And we found that out. We did find people that were filled with hatred, Palestinian for Israeli, Israeli for Palestinian. And yet we included two young men, your age, in the book, Abdul and Jeremy. Jeremy is Jewish, Abdul is Muslim, and their stories, their love of country, their love of religion, their love of family, and their perplexity on how to deal with what is going on around them. One's with the IDF, and he's just like, I don't know if I can do this. And there's a wonderful scene in the book, and when we go to Jerusalem, we meet up with him and he's been with the IDF, and he's had to do things that he was concerned about. They were going against a moral fiber that he had within himself. The beauty is that these two fellas met in our book. The camp that they met at, that's in Maine, was called Seeds of Hope, but the real camp is called Seeds of Peace. It's been around since 1993, and it's where high school thought leaders from Israel and Palestine, or Jewish and Muslim high school students, get together for the summer to have conflict resolution training and to come together, eat together, play together, swim together, have marshmallows, s'mores together. And these two fellows were from there. And in our actual journey, we met Seeds of Peace people, former students of Seeds of Peace, in all the countries we went to, in Saudi, in Jordan, in Syria, and in Israel, in Jerusalem. And when we raised money to do the trek, we gave a portion of that money to Seeds of Peace.
Do you have a moment when a local person made you feel especially welcome or changed your perspective on the region?
Yeah, that was the moment that I would have said was the moment with Prince Khalid, His Royal Highness Prince Khalid. He's the son of a former king. We were thinking he's about the number 3 guy in Saudi Arabia back then. And he was a very gentle man. And it was very clear that he was, in his sincerity, thank you for your boldness coming here, because no one's coming here. And we did hear, and we didn't understand, because, the American passport is blue, and it says United States of America right on the front, and it's, as a passport. And all those checkpoints, all 39 checkpoints and border crossings, the first thing is passport, passport. And when they see the American passport, there's always a change of, just a slight change. They still ask the questions, why are you here? How long you're staying? This sort of thing. But in the end, for the most part, people were saying, you're welcome. It's like, I didn't do anything. And then we realized they're welcoming us there. You're welcome here. And so it was really very special.
So now we're done with all like the questions that we had prepared, and now we wanted to do a fun, like little fun segment, and where we're gonna ask you a series of 10 rapid questions. So the idea for this one is that we're gonna try to ask them fast and for you to answer the questions with the first thing that pops into your mind. Yeah. Okay, Chelsea, you could begin.
Okay. What's your favorite guilty pleasure?
Chocolate.
And if you could have dinner with any 3 people, dead or alive, who would they be?
My girlfriend, my girlfriend, my girlfriend.
That's a good response. Sorry.
Describe yourself in 3 words.
Tall, blonde, blue-eyed, adventures.
Okay. And what's one thing you can't live without?
Chocolate.
Me too.
What's the best advice you've ever received?
I'm sorry, best advice I ever received? Learn to deal with where you are in the moment before you go forward. No business going forward until you can handle where you are right now.
Really good.
Mama.
Oh. And what's one skill that you wish you had?
Sailing.
I think I know the answer to this one already, but what's your go-to comfort food?
I'm not going to say soup. Chocolate.
Wow, I didn't think that was going to be
chocolate. Chocolate is just the most amazing thing. It really is, right?
So, wait. This isn't part of the questions, but I have to ask. Do you like milk or dark chocolate more?
Milk, I like both. I really do. But I like dark chocolate.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like, I mean, oh man, I'm out. Where
You have to
the
do a
last
grocery run.
one I had, it's maybe in the kitchen.
Yeah, my favorite's also dark chocolate, but people are always like, "Oh my god, it's so like I don't like dark chocolate." I'm like, "It's so delicious."
It is, you get up to 73%,
Yeah.
you get dark chocolate.
Okay. It was my turn,
Mhm.
right? What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done?
Um, the most adventurous thing, the thing that just came into my mind was running down the ridge of Baldy with microspikes when there was an eclipse going on, and I don't know what kind of an eclipse, but the sun was up and the moon was up, and it had an eclipse, and I could look over here and see the sun. It was a sunrise. I was at 12,622 feet, and then looking over here and seeing the moon, and there had been an eclipse of sorts, and I was running down this ridge right next to the edge where the snow is in snow, and it became sliding because it was so steep, and being able to stay up, and I just felt invincible
Wow.
alone. And it just felt one of those things where it was just like, you know,
Yeah. No, that's super cool.
That is super cool. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
I don't know. I've been a lot of different places. I love many places. Where I haven't been is I haven't been to Switzerland. And I'd
Ah,
love to go to Switzerland.
Oh my
And
god. We've been to
you know,
Switzerland. It's so
yeah.
beautiful.
You'd love it there for the chocolate.
Yeah.
there you go. That's part of it, but it's also the Matterhorn. It's the mountains, and it's always captivated me. And I have friends that have been there and that live in Zurich and different things, but haven't been. It's coming up.
Yeah, no, definitely you should add it to your list. We went, and I think
You
one of the
did.
most beautiful places that I've ever been to, I don't remember the name of, do you even,
It started with a G. It was like the
Germa,
Dramabahan.
yeah, it's something like, we don't know how to pronounce it, but it's this
Right.
little train that brings you up on the mountain. It's like a little roller coaster train, but it goes super
Yes.
slow. And we didn't know that when we went up there, we were going to see this beautiful like lake, this
Yes.
alpine lake with
Yes.
mountains next to it. And so to this, I mean, we went recently, but to this day, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
It was so
That,
beautiful.
ladies, that's exactly why I would go. Because
Hmm.
there's a place here going up to Baldy that you can peel off and go up to a lake. It's called Nambe Lake. And it's the same thing. The lake is so stunningly beautiful. There's a meadow kind of around it, and the rocks mountain goes straight up
Hmm.
from it. And it's just breathtaking.
Yeah. Yeah,
Anyway,
I think you have to go like as soon as you could because it is
absolutely.
a really
Yeah.
pretty place. We'd recommend it.
Thanks.
My turn or your turn?
Yes, your turn.
Oh, my turn. Oh, sorry. Um, do you have any hidden talents?
Hidden talents. No, I don't know. What would it be? I mean, no. Hidden talents. I know how to build, you
That's a
know.
good hidden talent.
I think so.
It's been very helpful in all the places that I've owned to be able to make it, to improve it.
Hmm.
And when it came time to selling, always doing well from that skill. Yeah. And I like it. I don't want to like it, but I do like it. It is
it's
sure.
it's a secretly liked talent.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that's really good. Yep. Okay.
Okay.
What's the last show that you binge watched?
That I binged watched. Um, there's been several. I just can't remember. I've been between writing the next book, I just so, especially lately, not been watching. But I'm sorry, don't remember.
It's
But
okay.
I do watch. Yeah.
Okay, now we could jump into the two truth and one lie.
Yep.
Um, so we could start. We we just made one like really quick. We also did one because we were like we shouldn't let you do it alone. So
Excellent.
you you could go first, and then so you could tell us two truths and then one lie, and we have to guess from the three statements that you have which one of them is a lie.
Right. Now, I've done one that's very short and brief, like phrases, 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 but I'm going to do the longer one. So you have
Okay.
to listen, okay?
Okay.
Because you never know. I stepped up to the screening at the Dubai International Airport and was asked to open my briefcase. The security agent looked in my case and pulled out my Special Forces survival knife, then stared at me as he hit a silent alarm. Holding my knife, three guards instantly appeared around him, staring at the knife and then at me. I said, "This is my knife." I apologized that it was not placed in my checked baggage, looking them all directly in the eye. I use this knife in my business. I do not want to lose it. Do you understand? They said, do you understand? Would you consider giving this to a flight attendant on my flight? They said, the main guy said, yes, sir. We understand. We will see that it arrives in New York. Statement one. Statement two. I ran as fast as I could with a very large, heavy duffel bag in the Atlanta International Airport to catch my flight. As I neared the departure gate, I saw three airline staff near the walkway door to the plane. One had just closed it and appeared to be locking it. Without slowing down with my bag, I said, "Open up that door, FBI." And they said, "Yes, sir," and opened the door for me to get on the plane.
If this one is
Two,
true, this is so funny.
two, I was exhausted. My late night flight was canceled flying from Riyadh, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Next flight was a 6:10 the next morning. I saw that men were sleeping on the floor with their head underneath the chairs. Several soldiers with assault rifles appeared every 10 minutes, checking on people sleeping, and stared at me. I decided, close my eyes and get sleep with my head underneath one of the seats. Tell me the lie.
Oh my
This is
god.
hard.
This is hard because he's an actor.
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay, my heart is like the FBI one's a lie. But I think it's just because I think it's so funny.
Yeah, I think it's really funny too. I
Which
don't
one
know,
are
this
you
is hard.
thinking?
I was thinking the first one, but the FBI one, because what? Why wouldn't they ask questions?
No, but maybe they did. He just cut it off at the. He said they were,
Yeah,
and maybe that was to just grab their attention. You know.
yeah.
I think maybe the first one also because that one they wouldn't let that happen.
Yeah, right. Okay, which one are we gonna say?
Okay, wait, which one? Let's say the first one.
Yeah, the first one.
Okay, first one.
The first one, drumroll please, is true. Is true.
Wait, which one was the
Ah.
lie?
The last one is true.
Oh,
Stephanie.
The second one is false. I didn't say open that door, FBI. I said open that door, DEA.
oh my god, that's so funny.
And they said, yes, sir. And I got on the plane.
Oh my gosh. Well, being 6'3", I think really added to
think
it.
so,
I would have believed you too.
It was unbelievable. And it was like there was no way I could miss that flight because I was working with the DEA and I just said DEA. And I said it in a very clear voice that didn't wasn't threatening. It was do it,
Assertive.
do it.
Oh my god. Do it or find out that I'm not the DA.
Do you want to
Oh,
hear a real quick one?
yes.
Two truths and a lie, or should we listen to yours?
Should we do ours?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah,
So we'll
let's
do
listen to
ours.
yours. Yeah.
And then we'll do the really quick one.
Okay.
Okay, so you want to go first?
Okay, I'll go first.
First story.
We snuck out of our house to go to a party, and one of our fathers came out to just sit on the porch and talk on the phone, and we were waiting for a car to come pick us up, so we had to run into someone's driveway and stay there basically in their backyard until our ride came to pick us up, and there was cameras and the lights were on and they were home. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's the first story. Second story is when we went to Germany, we rented a car and we were stuck at the Germany train station for about 5 hours looking for the rental car that we didn't find until we arrived at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. and we didn't find it until around 1 a.m. Third story.
Third story. As soon as we touched down in London, we immediately were almost robbed by pickpocketers.
3.
How'd you know?
I think it was too short. All the other ones were too long. We should have added more pizzazz like he did with the drum roll. My jaw opened. He got it too fast.
But isn't it fun doing them?
Yeah.
That's really
Oh my
great.
gosh. How did you get it so fast?
I don't know.
He just
I
he
don't-
already knows us.
It's that, well, it doesn't. The two stories were very plausible. And so was the last one. It's just that it was shorter, and I've been in London a lot at
Oh.
Heathrow, and so I know. I just didn't. Nah.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Okay,
it's
now
good.
for
It's
yours.
good. Okay, you ready? Real quick.
Yes.
I have fallen through a thick cloud in the sky. I have fallen through the ice into water. I have fallen through the snow into a crevasse. Truth or lie?
I think the second one is the
Through ice?
What about you?
Okay. I was gonna say the third one, the snow into the. Okay, I'll just go with yours. Let's say the ice.
Wait, no, the ice into water, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say that.
We're going for the lie, right?
Yes.
Are you
The
sure?
first one's true, obviously.
Yeah, the first one's sure. Did you go with me last time or did I go with you?
Last time I went with you.
All right, so I'll go with you this time.
The snow?
Yeah.
I'm nervous. Okay. Okay, we think the lie's the third one.
It is the second one.
Oh my god, we should have gone with you again.
Chelsea, you had it. Whatever inside you said, nah.
Oh my god.
Oh, man.
Oh, this was a fun game.
It was a fun game.
There you go.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So that was it for our podcast episode this week, guys. We hope you guys enjoyed. We wanted to thank you so much for being on. It was truly our pleasure and we had so much fun. Before we let you go, we just wanted to ask if you have anything you want to promote where our viewers can find you, your book, and we'll have everything linked down in the description for them.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you. And a lot of fun, especially this last part. I mean, come on. It's a kick, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's a great thing to add to your podcast.
Thank you.
Really wonderful. The book, A Line in the Sand by Miles Spencer and Wells Jones, is on Amazon. It is in paperback. It is in a Kindle form and Audible. And the Audible was narrated by terrific guide. It's very well known in the Audible world, Eduardo Ballerini. So it's very worth checking it out. At least you can hear snippets or you can read snippets from the book and you can see more about us. I sent you links to Miles's, he's Linktree, but and I'm on LinkedIn, Wells Had Jones on LinkedIn. And
Perfect.
so that's it. And Miles has a very big following, and that's where our social is focused and people receiving this episode information.
Perfect.
Okay.
We'll have everything of your links down there so everyone could find it.
Yeah.
And again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
This was
You're
super
very
fun.
welcome. It was fun. It sure was fun. Thank you, ladies.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay, guys, we really hope you liked this episode. It was different, but I think it was something that really a lot of people need to hear, especially like in the climate that we're living in and stuff. I think it's good to hold on to hope and to what? Again?
Oh,
Okay, guys, we really hope you.
no, dude.
Okay. Yeah. So, well, that's it for our show.
No, continue talking about what you were talking.
Oh, yeah, and it's important to know, like, to hold on to hope, and that, like, yeah, it's like I hope you guys like that's what you take away from like today's episode. That it's never too late to do anything what you want to do, and sometimes you won't get it on the first try, but that's alright. You just gotta keep trying, and eventually you'll get it. And even if you don't, at least you tried, and at least you were happy doing it.
Period. That was very nice. Very good advice. Yes. So do I say it or you say it?
So I guess like don't forget to like, don't forget to like,
comment,
subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Two Random Girls. Bye. We got the zoomies like. This is getting crazy. I'm scared. Okay. Limbo, please. Okay, hey everyone. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Angelica. Okay, let's
Say it.
Hi everyone. My name is Chelsea.
I'm Angelica.
And together, why did we say "Pretty Boom Pretty Boom"?
You kept saying it, so I was like,
Why?
I don't know, but I was liking it. I was like, bitty boo, bitty boo.
Great.
You kept saying it. I was like, cool. I like this. And the punch just came because I was like, okay, I'll tell you the truth. The truth is, I was like, it would be so funny if we acted out right now and I was like making out like this. What are you talking about? Because you never see. Okay, that's why I said I was gonna tell her the truth, but I knew she was gonna judge me. And it was just a joke.
No, you know it was a joke. I'm crying because I'm talking about some hold on to your dreams.
It would be so funny. And then I was like, okay, but I can't she can't know what I'm thinking. So that it'll be funny if I just act like I'm gonna punch her. And then
she punched
and then I let the intrusive thoughts win. And that's why I felt bad because then you were like,